Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a question that might just shake you a little. How do you really know when someone is truly, madly, deeply into you? We've all been there. Confused by mixed signals, second-guessing every text, wondering if we're imagining things. But here's the truth: when a man is crazy about you, his psychology betrays him, his actions, his choices, his subtle little behaviors. They all reveal what his words sometimes can't. Mirroring behavior is one of the most powerful psychological signs of attraction, and it goes much deeper than just copying gestures or repeating words. At its core, mirroring happens when two people are so aligned emotionally that their subconscious behaviors start to synchronize. When a man is truly crazy about you, he doesn't always express it directly with words, but his body and actions give him away. The fascinating part is that mirroring is not a calculated move. It's instinctive. Human beings naturally mirror the people they feel connected to, and in romantic situations, this becomes even more apparent. When a man leans in closer after you do, adjusts his posture to match yours, or even sips his drink right after you take a sip, these are subtle signs of mirroring. Psychologists explain that this behavior is rooted in empathy and rapport building. On a subconscious level, he's communicating, "I'm with you. I feel you. I want to be on your wavelength." It's a way of bridging the emotional gap without needing words. However, mirroring is not only about gestures. It can show up in tone of voice, choice of words, and even energy levels. If you're excited and animated while speaking, he might unconsciously match that energy. If you lower your voice and speak softly, he might do the same. This is because he wants to remain connected to your state of being. He doesn't want to break the flow you're creating, so he matches it to stay in rhythm with you. This is where the deeper meaning of mirroring links back to choosing yourself. When you live authentically, grounded in your own values and confidence, you set the tone for others to follow. If you carry yourself with dignity, self-respect, and joy, the right man, one who is genuinely crazy about you, will mirror that energy. He won't try to drag you down or shift you into a space of insecurity. Instead, his subconscious mind will adapt to the energy you choose for yourself. Think of it this way: if you sit in a room slouched over, doubting yourself, insecure in your presence, he may mirror that low energy. But if you walk in standing tall, smiling with confidence, speaking with warmth, he mirrors that too. This is why choosing yourself first is so important. You set the emotional standard. A man who truly desires you wants to align with you, so your energy becomes the one that guides his. Mirroring also extends to lifestyle and habits. If you prioritize your health, growth, and ambitions, he subconsciously starts aligning with those values too. He may begin showing interest in things that matter to you, or respecting routines you follow. If you're consistent in choosing yourself, valuing your boundaries, protecting your peace, and honoring your goals, he will respect and adapt to that. That's when mirroring stops being just unconscious body language and becomes a reflection of shared values. This is the key insight. Mirroring behavior becomes meaningful only when you are already choosing yourself. If you neglect yourself, a man may mirror the wrong signals: your insecurity, your doubts, your hesitation. But when you operate from self-worth, his mirroring becomes evidence that he values and respects you enough to meet you where you stand. It's a silent confirmation that he's not only drawn to you physically, but also emotionally and psychologically. In essence, mirroring behavior shows you that attraction is not just about words or declarations. It is about energy, alignment, and respect. And when you live in the truth of choosing yourself first, you create the space where genuine love can reflect back to you, through his actions, his presence, and the way he unconsciously mirrors the best parts of who you are. As creating opportunities is one of the clearest psychological signals a man gives when he's genuinely drawn to someone. Instead of passively waiting for the universe to line things up, he actively looks for reasons to see you, talk to you, and share space with you. Attraction makes people resourceful. A man who is crazy about you won't sit back and hope he runs into you. He'll engineer those moments. He may suggest casual meetups, offer help with something you mentioned, or suddenly find himself around places he knows you'll be. It's not coincidence, it's intent disguised as chance. This behavior reflects a deep psychological truth. People make time for what matters most to them. If a man constantly seems available or goes out of his way to fit into your schedule, it's his way of showing priority. Even small things, sending a text just to check in, remembering an event in your life and asking about it, or suggesting an activity he knows you'd enjoy, are opportunities he creates to strengthen the connection. It's less about the size of the effort and more about the consistency. But here is where it becomes powerful when tied to choosing yourself. If you live in self-worth, you naturally become selective about the kind of energy you allow into your life. Choosing yourself means you don't chase after scraps of attention. You don't rearrange your whole life for someone who isn't proving effort. When you operate from that space, you begin to see clearly whether a man is truly investing by creating opportunities or if he's simply coasting on convenience. For example, a man who's truly into you will notice your schedule and work around it. He'll propose times that respect your commitments instead of demanding you bend to his. That's because he values your presence. But if you are not grounded in choosing yourself, you might overlook this distinction and end up overcompensating, putting in effort where he isn't. When you hold firm to your boundaries, you invite the right man to rise up and create those chances to connect, rather than lowering yourself to fit into his inconsistent effort. Creating opportunities also reveals a man's emotional investment. Someone who is half-hearted may reach out only when it's convenient for him, but a man who is genuinely captivated finds joy in making the connection possible, even if it takes planning, rearranging, or effort. Choosing yourself puts you in the position to recognize this difference. You begin to see that true attraction doesn't leave you confused. Instead, it feels like clarity. Because he's not leaving your interactions to fate, he's deliberately weaving himself into your world. This key point also applies to the emotional level. A man might create opportunities to talk not only about surface topics, but about deeper subjects that matter to you. If you mention a passion project, he'll ask questions later, giving you space to share. If you talk about something stressful, he may check in afterwards. These are moments he crafts to build intimacy. But the effectiveness of these opportunities depends on whether you have chosen yourself first. When you have, you can distinguish between genuine investment and shallow attention seeking. There is also another layer. By choosing yourself, you create opportunities for him to rise. You set boundaries, express your needs, and live your truth openly. This challenges the right man to meet you there. He begins creating space not only for time together, but also for alignment with your goals, your growth, and your well-being. Instead of dragging you into his world, he finds ways to merge with yours in a way that feels balanced. Ultimately, creating opportunities is more than effort. It is intentional presence. It's about a man showing that he doesn't just want to be a fleeting part of your life, but an active participant in it. When you choose yourself, you filter out the ones who wait for convenience and allow space only for the one who proves his desire by stepping forward, consistently, with actions that match his feelings. As competing for attention is a subtle but powerful psychological sign that a man is deeply interested. When attraction is real, he doesn't just want to be one of many voices in your life. He wants to stand out. He wants to be the one who makes you laugh the hardest, the one you call when you're struggling, the one whose presence you notice even in a crowded room. This doesn't always manifest as loud or obvious competition, but rather through consistent effort to differentiate himself. A man who is crazy about you feels a natural urge to win a special place in your world, and that instinct pushes him to try harder than others. This form of competition doesn't always mean he's battling other men directly. Often, it means he's competing with the distractions in your life. Your work, your hobbies, your phone, even your own inner world. He wants your focus, your attention, your energy, because it validates how significant he is to you. That's why he may go out of his way to be memorable, offering unique gestures, thoughtful compliments, or actions that make you pause and notice. In his mind, if he can stand out in the little ways, he proves his deeper value in your life. When you bring the principle of choosing yourself into this, everything shifts. Choosing yourself means you are not desperate for validation. You are not handing out attention to anyone who simply demands it. Instead, you protect your focus, you invest it wisely, and you give it only where effort is earned. This creates a powerful dynamic. Because you are not easily swayed, the man who truly desires you has to rise to the occasion. He has to compete not by being louder or flashier, but by being genuine, consistent, and thoughtful in his pursuit. When you stand firm in your self-worth, you make your attention valuable. A man can sense when a woman's focus is not given freely, but earned through real connection. That energy forces him to prove himself in meaningful ways. He may listen more closely, remember the smallest details about your conversations, or go the extra mile to surprise you. It's not because he feels pressured, but because he feels inspired to step up. Your decision to choose yourself sets the standard of what earns your attention, and he aligns his effort with that standard. Competing for attention also highlights emotional authenticity. Some men may attempt to grab attention through games, exaggerated stories, or surface-level charm. But when you've chosen yourself, you can see through empty performances. You recognize the difference between someone chasing attention for ego and someone earning it through genuine care. The man who is truly captivated by you doesn't want attention just for validation. He wants your focus because it signifies closeness, trust, and emotional intimacy. Another layer of this is how he interacts when others are around. A man competing for your attention might subtly shift his behavior in group settings. He may position himself near you, initiate conversations that include you, or find ways to make you laugh when others are present. He wants to be the one you notice most, the one whose presence lingers after the crowd disperses. But again, this becomes meaningful only when you choose yourself. Because when you do, you don't reward shallow bids for attention. You reward the effort that reflects respect, care, and consistency. Ultimately, competing for attention is less about rivalry and more about prioritization. A man who is crazy about you instinctively wants to be prioritized in return, so he works to secure that place. But the key is that he must do it in a way that honors who you are, not in a way that diminishes you. Choosing yourself creates the filter. You don't chase his effort, you observe it. You don't surrender your focus cheaply, you allow him to earn it. And through that balance, you discover whether his competition for your attention comes from a place of love and devotion, or simply from ego and insecurity. Emotional vulnerability is one of the most telling signs of deep attraction, and it is often overlooked because many people assume men naturally struggle with opening up. The truth is, when a man is truly captivated by someone, his instinct to protect his emotions begins to shift. He starts to share pieces of himself he normally guards closely. He may reveal his fears, his insecurities, or even past experiences that shaped him. This act of opening up is not random, it's a signal of trust. Emotional vulnerability is the unspoken way of saying, I feel safe enough with you to let you see the real me. In most social settings, men are conditioned to appear strong, composed, and in control. They don't easily expose the parts of themselves that might be judged as weak. But when a man allows himself to be emotionally transparent, it shows he is prioritizing authenticity over image. He's no longer just trying to impress, he's trying to connect. Vulnerability, in this context, becomes a form of intimacy that is deeper than physical attraction. It's his way of bridging the emotional gap and inviting you into his inner world. This is where the concept of choosing yourself becomes essential. If you do not choose yourself first, if you lack boundaries, confidence, or self-respect, you might misinterpret vulnerability. You may either dismiss it thinking it's insignificant, or you may exploit it without realizing, leaving him feeling exposed and unvalued. Choosing yourself ensures that you meet his openness with both strength and compassion. It allows you to hold space for his emotions while still maintaining your own sense of balance. When you live from self-worth, you create an environment where vulnerability feels safe. You don't judge or diminish a man for showing weakness, and you also don't allow his emotions to consume your identity. You recognize that his choice to open up is a sign of respect, but you remain grounded in who you are. This balance is critical because emotional vulnerability should never turn into dependency. A man who shares his inner world should feel supported, but you, in choosing yourself, ensure that your role remains as a partner, not a savior. Another important aspect is discernment. Not all vulnerability is genuine. Some men may use selective openness as a tactic to win sympathy or manipulate. When you have chosen yourself, you can distinguish between authentic vulnerability and emotional performance. You can sense when he is truly inviting you into his heart versus when he is sharing just enough to gain something from you. Self-respect equips you with the clarity to honor genuine openness while setting boundaries against insincerity. Emotional vulnerability also deepens connection when met with reciprocity. A man who is crazy about you reveals his inner truths because he hopes to build something real. But if you haven't chosen yourself, you may fear opening up in return. You might hold back out of insecurity, which prevents the bond from growing. When you choose yourself, however, you stand firmly in your own identity, which allows you to share your truth without fear. This mutual openness creates the foundation for a partnership built on honesty and trust. Finally, emotional vulnerability reveals where his true investment lies. Any man can give attention, flirtation, or temporary affection. But when he trusts you with his emotions, it's a sign he sees you as more than just a passing presence. He envisions you as someone capable of holding a meaningful place in his life. By choosing yourself, You confirm that his trust is not misplaced. You are whole on your own, but you are also willing to build something stronger together. In essence, emotional vulnerability is not just about him showing weakness, it's about him showing courage, the courage to be real in a world that teaches men to hide. And when you have already chosen yourself, you create the emotional space where that courage can be received, respected, and reciprocated in a way that leads to lasting connection. Remembering details is one of the clearest demonstrations that someone is not just interested in you but truly invested. When a man remembers the little things you say, it shows he is listening, not just hearing. Attraction on a surface level may lead to compliments or gestures, but deep emotional interest reveals itself in memory. He recalls your favorite drink, the way you light up when talking about a childhood memory, the fact that you mentioned an upcoming work presentation, or even something small like the song you hummed absent-mindedly. These details may seem ordinary to you, but to him they are valuable clues that make up the bigger picture of who you are. Psychologically, remembering details signifies attention and prioritization. The human brain holds on to information that feels important, and when a man is crazy about you, you become important. Remembering is his way of proving to himself and to you that he is paying attention to what makes you unique. This is far more than an intellectual exercise. It is an emotional signal. Through memory, he is saying, I care enough to hold on to what matters to you. When connected to the principle of choosing yourself, this behavior becomes even more meaningful. Choosing yourself means you are aware of your worth, and you expect to be valued for more than superficial qualities. You know that your thoughts, preferences, and feelings deserve to be acknowledged. A man who remembers details reflects that respect back to you. He validates the fact that your words have weight. This alignment shows that his attraction is not just physical but deeply personal. Consider the opposite scenario when you don't choose yourself. You might overlook the importance of being listened to. You may accept shallow attention or even excuse forgetfulness as normal. But when you honor yourself first, you recognize that a man who is truly invested will not repeatedly disregard what matters to you. Choosing yourself teaches you to see remembering details as a standard, not a luxury. It becomes a filter that helps you separate genuine interest from casual curiosity. Remembering details also speaks to effort. It is easy for someone to nod along in a conversation, but it takes focus and care to store information and bring it up later. A man who recalls your words days or weeks afterward shows that he isn't just present in the moment. He carries pieces of you with him when you're not around. That effort is not accidental, it's intentional. And when you choose yourself, you honor that effort without needing to give in return. You receive it as a reflection of your value rather than as something you must immediately repay. This behavior often extends into action. Remembering details allows him to surprise you in ways that feel deeply personal. He might bring you your favorite snack without being asked, plan a date around something you casually mentioned, or text you good luck before the event you told him about. These thoughtful acts show he is not just listening to respond but listening to connect. Choosing yourself means you do not settle for grand but empty gestures. You value the kind of attentiveness that proves he sees you as an individual, not just a role in his life. There is also a subtle psychological effect of being remembered. It makes you feel significant. Everyone longs to be seen and understood, and when a man consistently remembers what you share, it reinforces that your presence matters. But the crucial difference lies in how you interpret this. Without choosing yourself, you might become overly dependent on his attention for validation. With self-worth intact, however, you appreciate being remembered while still standing in your own value. His attentiveness becomes an addition to your confidence, not the foundation of it. Ultimately, remembering details is proof of where his focus lies. A distracted or half-hearted man may listen, but he won't retain. A man who is genuinely invested doesn't just hear, he stores, recalls, and acts on what you say. When you choose yourself, you recognize the beauty of this behavior, while also understanding it should align with consistency and respect. His memory becomes evidence of real care, and your self-worth ensures you receive it as the standard you deserve, not as a rare exception. Investing in your happiness is one of the strongest indicators that a man's feelings for you go beyond surface-level attraction. When he is truly captivated, your joy becomes tied to his own sense of fulfillment. He doesn't only seek moments that make him happy, he actively works to create moments that bring light to your life. This can appear in big gestures, like supporting your ambitions or standing by you during difficult times, but more often it reveals itself in small, consistent actions. He might send a message just to lift your mood, make sacrifices to ease your stress, or go out of his way to ensure you feel appreciated. His effort to invest in your happiness is his way of saying, "Your well-being matters to me as much as mine." At its core, this behavior is rooted in empathy. Psychologically, when someone cares deeply, they begin to share in the emotional states of the person they love. Your laughter feels like his victory, your struggles weigh on his heart, and your peace gives him peace. This is not about dependency, it is about emotional alignment. A man who is crazy about you naturally invests because your happiness enhances his connection to you. When connected to choosing yourself, this point becomes even more profound. Choosing yourself means you prioritize your own happiness before expecting anyone else to do it for you. You cultivate joy, purpose, and fulfillment from within, instead of waiting for a relationship to fill that gap. When you live this way, a man's investment in your happiness complements your life rather than completing it. You are not dependent on his effort to feel whole, but you can fully appreciate his effort because it adds value to what you've already built for yourself. This distinction is powerful because when you haven't chosen yourself, you might cling to any small effort as proof of love. You might accept inconsistency or overvalue gestures because you're seeking validation externally. But when you stand in your own worth, you recognize that genuine investment is not about sporadic effort, it's about consistency and depth. You know the difference between someone who brings flowers once in a while and someone who shows up daily to water the relationship. Investing in your happiness also reveals itself in respect for your individuality. A man who truly cares doesn't just focus on what makes him comfortable, he takes interest in what matters to you. If you have personal goals, he encourages them. If you set boundaries, he honors them. If you pursue passions, he supports them rather than competing with them. This kind of investment stems from seeing your happiness not as a threat to the relationship but as a foundation for it. Choosing yourself ensures you accept nothing less. You don't settle for someone who diminishes your light, you make space only for someone who adds to it. Another layer of investing in your happiness is how he responds during challenging times. It is easy for anyone to enjoy your company when everything is going well. But a man truly invested will step in when you are discouraged, anxious, or overwhelmed. He won't fix every problem, but he will stand beside you, reminding you that you don't have to carry the weight alone. His presence becomes an anchor. Yet, because you have chosen yourself, you are not relying on him to rescue you. You already have resilience. His support simply amplifies your strength. Ultimately, investing in your happiness reflects long-term intention. It shows that he is not just interested in fleeting attraction, but in building a meaningful connection. Your joy becomes a priority he consciously nurtures. When you choose yourself, you set the standard that your happiness is non-negotiable. His willingness to invest in it becomes not just a sweet gesture, but evidence of alignment with the life and love you deserve.